Another beautiful day. Another beautiful day. Um, Last night, the Islamic Republic of MAMDANISTAN invaded Congress and the House. 2 House seats, 1 congressional seat. Oh, that's what I like to hear, man. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it live. Fuck it. We're doing it live. Dude, Mamdani's meat is so big. If he's able to just like win fucking win over votes like that, just like endorsement, bam. So crazy. So crazy. Dude, we're on the right side of history. It's insane. Ugh. Tucker Carlson's sweating in his little booties right now, I guarantee it. Same with the DNC. Same with the JD Vance. Same with the Donald John Trump. But here we are. Another wonderful day. Unfortunately, I'm in California. I can't feel the air in the Great Islamic Republic of Mamdanistan, but I sure can watch from a distance. So, I heard that Dario Avila Chevalier has a post-win interview on the great and glorious state-owned Republic of Mamdanistan news media networks known as Democracy Now! That's where I get my news every morning, although it's not where I get all of my news. So, anyways, let's tune in right here.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Shockwaves have rocked the Democratic Party nationwide as progressives and DSA candidates endorsed by Mayor Zohran Mamdani win big in New York. In a major blow to the Democratic establishment, 3 candidates backed by Mamdani have won primary races in New York City and appear to be headed to Congress. Former New York City Comptroller Brad Lander beat Congressman Dan Goldman. The 32-year-old Afro-Latino organizer Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier pulled off a shocking defeat of 5-term Congressmember Adriano Espaillat, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And New York Assembly member Claire Valdez, who's a former union organizer, defeated Brooklyn Borough President the 32 headed to Congress. Former New York City Comptroller Brad Lander beat Congressman Dan Goldman. The 32-year-old Afro-Latino organizer Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier pulled off a shocking defeat of 5-term Congressmember Adriano Espaillat, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And New York Assembly member.
The polls will be watered with the blood, or no, I probably shouldn't say that. That sounds like political violence talk. No, the polls will be watered with the tears of do nothing Democrats. Oh, I'm so happy. It feels so good. Even watching from a distance, I'm like thousands of miles away, but here we are, just reveling in the victory of New Yorkers.
Claire Valdez, who's a former union organizer, defeated Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso to fill the seat long held by Nydia Velázquez. Avila Chevalier and Valdez were both backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, which also played a key role in Mamdani's election. DSA-backed New York State Assembly and Senate candidates also swept their races, with 9 out of 10 candidates on the DSA slate winning the primaries.
9 out of 10!
At the DSA watch party for Claire Valdez and others in Brooklyn last night and spoke to progressive streamer Hassan Piker.
Oh! It's only the beginning. It is only the beginning.
My name is Claire Valdez, and I am proud to say that I will be your next Congress member. We haven't just won an election, we have declared declared that this movement is durable.
Durable, people. It's durable.
It is growing.
It's growing.
It will not stop until working people are no longer asked to just build the table, no longer just offered a seat at the table, but will run the
I'm so
table.
excited.
And make no mistake, this victory is not mine, it is ours. That's what organizing is. It's being asked to do something big, scary, unfamiliar, something that everything inside you says is not for you. It can't be you. But then you take the plunge, you find your power and solidarity. And let's talk about what that ask has now won.
Oh yeah, I take the plunge every morning and every night. I'm always tuned into this shit. I'm loving it. You should be loving it. We all should be loving it. Across every fucking state, we should be loving it right now.
I will lead the fight against ICE's cruelty and stand steadfast alongside our immigrant neighbors. They've been demonized, targeted, attacked, and in me they will have a champion. I will stand steadfast alongside our trans siblings who are the beating heart in this community. I will continue to call for Palestinian liberation.
Yeah! That's our one.
We will stand up to the genocide. We will refuse to abide by apartheid, and we will use our money to improve lives here instead of destroy them abroad. And I will do everything in my power every single day in Congress to give the labor movement the tools it needs to be.
That's what I'm talking about right there. The labor movement. We need that shit. We need that. We need that. By the way, I am not drunk. This is a Kirkland energy drink. I'm just poor. Can't afford Red Bull. Here we are. But if we keep making Mamdani victories, Red Bull will flow like water.
Fighting force for the entire working class.
Clara Valdez, Democratic nominee for Congress from Brooklyn and Queens. Tuesday's biggest upset was the victory of 32-year-old Afro-Latina Muslim organizer Darialisa Vila Chevalier, who
I might just have to become Muslim. It's trendy. Like, honest to God. Honest to Allah. You know, it's just trendy. It's just cool right now. It's in. Being Muslim is in. Oh, shit. Guys, it's time to wake up. It's 10:15. It's just trendy. It's what's cool right now. I might just have to join them.
defeated five-term Congress member Adriano Espaillat, chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Mayor Mamdani addressed a roaring crowd of supporters at her watch party in Harlem last night.
This campaign began many months ago at the same park that we launched a canvas in today. And at that time, I know that for many it may have felt like a fantasy that Darialisa would be here right now. But it was never a fantasy for her, and it was never a fantasy for all of you. You have willed that dream into a reality. And I was asked time and again, why would I support this campaign? And I said then that I can think of no better person than the daughter of a single mother caseworker who has fought for working people her entire life, who has stood up for New Yorkers unjustly detained by ICE, who has called for a foreign policy of investing in babies and not bombs, I can think of no one better than someone of clarity, of conscience, and of conviction to be the next congressperson. And it is because you poured your hearts into this, because you poured your hopes into this.
Dude, his meat is so mass. Dude, his nuts are so heavy. It's insane. Like, there is a scale of voters, right? You've got like the, do we vote this way? Do we vote that way? Do we vote progressive? Do we vote, whatever? And Mamdani just says, I'm gonna put my nuts on the left side. And then everyone starts voting to the left. It's crazy, dude. His nuts are so heavy, everybody wants a piece of it. Oh my God. It's kind of insane. Like, I thought he had sway. I thought he had motion. I did not know he had this motion. I did not know he had this level of motion. I did not expect Mamdani to be swaying elections this heavy. And I also didn't expect... I just feel like it's been slow. It's been slow crawling for us, like, socialists in this country, Like, it has been a slow, brutal turning of the levers that we've just had to, like, work our way through. And he just sweeps it. He sweeps it like it's nobody's business. He just fucking says, I like them, I like them, I like them. And then bam, all of them win. It's insane. 9 out of 10 DSA candidates won. Let's fucking go.
That we are showing there is a new path for politics in our city and in our country. We are showing that last June, a year ago tomorrow, was not an anomaly. It was not the end. It was the beginning. Join me in welcoming. And I want a fellow member of New York City DSA, an Afro-Latina woman, the first Dominican woman to represent this district, and the next Congresswoman from New York 13, Lisa Avila Chevalier.
Daria Lisa
Damn.
Chevalier then took to the stage and addressed her supporters in Harlem.
I'm so excited to get to work and to bring all of you with me to Washington. To be fighting the fight that we have been fighting at the federal level. Because over a year ago, the odds were stacked against another young Muslim socialist.
Yeah.
To become mayor of New York City. And so I'll tell you honestly, I'm not concerned about that.
For more, we're joined now by the Democratic nominee for Congress in New York's 13th Congressional District, Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier. She defeated 5-term Congressman...
I like those glasses. Those are sick glasses. My glasses are in the shop. They said it's going to take 4 fucking weeks because the company just won't fucking issue the little nose bridge thing. They got broken, but those are some sick glasses. I fuck with them glasses. Those are meat swinging glasses. She's got business to lay out, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it for sure.
Welcome to Democracy Now! If you could start off by introducing yourself to the country.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. I am a long-time listener, so it's such an honor to be here. My first interview after winning here at Democracy Now!
First interview after winning right there. Goes straight to Democracy Now! That's what I like to see. I've been listening to Democracy Now! Since I was 16 years old. Democracy Now! Is great. I just wish they had a little more funding. That means donate to them immediately. Stat pronto, please. because they're very good. They're very, very good. Amy Goodman is a heavyweight. She's been doing this for years. They don't take corporate money. There's no advertisements. It is just purely listener funded. Danny DeVito listens to them. It's important. We all better respect democracy now.
I am an Afro-Latina Dominican daughter of immigrants. I am an organizer. I have been organizing my entire adult life around immigration justice, around ending mass incarceration, around Palestine. And it is such an honor to be able to have the privilege of having run a campaign that is centering working people in this district who have for far too long just been ignored by establishment politics. And I'm so deeply grateful to be here. It is such a surreal experience. Truly so excited to get to work and bring the values of working class people of color here in Harlem and Washington Heights and Inwood in the Bronx into the halls of Congress.
And talk about what you think are the most important issues that you've represented, and what did it mean to you to upset, to beat this 5-term Congress member, head of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Adriano Espaillat?
You know, I am somebody who has had to think about whether I can afford to stay in the city that I love. This is the second poorest congressional district in the state, and by some measures, the country. And to know that we centered the needs of this community at the heart of this campaign, where we are fighting for housing for all, to make sure that we abolish ICE and to have our tax dollars come back home to invest in our babies here and not in bombs abroad, was truly, truly at the heart of everything that our community really needs. We have another statistic that shocks my mind every single time is the fact that 40% of our children here are living in childhood poverty. And for us to
40%, that's insane.
Babies, all the things that they need to lead dignified childhoods would mean that we would be able to provide for every single person in this community. And, you know, we have had representation in the past over the last 9 years that has really not met those needs, where these crises have just grown. And it has been such an honor to work with a coalition with so many organizers on the ground to build a grassroots movement that is responsive to working people here, that gets to the issues. And, you know, this campaign was a lot of work. It was something that was built from the very ground up. And in the last few weeks, it was really a difficult one because we had so much money and so many smears thrown our way. We had over $7 million in outside spending that was being spent to smear me personally and to use incredibly racist and anti-Black rhetoric. And to know that Black residents in this district came out and supported this campaign in that context, in a context where Voting Rights Act is being gutted, where the rights of so many are under attack, to know that they came out despite the odds and chose these values really means the world to me.
If you can talk about the attacks on you by the Espaillat camp, around your background, questioning your Dominican heritage. Of course, the Dominican Republic shares an island with Haiti. And talk about, as if to be Haitian is an epithet, but what they were saying, this anti-Haitian rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bombardment where every time I opened any of our social media accounts, I was inundated with rhetoric that was using the term Haitian as though it were a slur. I was inundated with emojis of monkey and gorilla emojis, of rat emojis, of folks asking me and my family for proof of our birth certificate and where we were born. And, you know, I just think it was really one of the ugliest types of rhetoric that I have seen in a really long time. It really reminded me of MAGA style politics. And it was just so shocking to see that coming in a heavily blue district and in a
I was gonna say, like I wasn't catching up on this stuff. Yo, what is up, first time chatter? What are you looking? This is Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier. Forgive my pronunciation. She just won the 13th congressional district in New York. Zohran Mamdani endorsed her. Complete Democratic Socialist sweep in New York. Major W's.
Where the sitting incumbent was a Democrat. And you know, I'm just so honored to.
This is their first interview.
Be able to fight against that with my team, with my
since the win,
and to know that voters here in this district rejected that. To know that we have turned a page on the politics of the past and a politics that is, you know, in so many ways so divisive, and a politics of just cynicism. To be able to turn the page on that and to bring forward a politics of hope, to center a message that is about a politics of.
The video is low, really. Okay, let me do some adjusting here. Thank you. Thanks for telling me. Hold on. Let's do some sound settings and things. Let's change some things. Volume mixer. Google Chrome is at 100%. What? Let's try. Oh, I see. Okay, what about that? There we go. That should be better.
Life has really been such an honor, and also showing that this is a politic that is popular and that will win.
Yeah, welcome from Italy. Welcome from Italy. Or welcome from the US, I guess. I don't know. Awesome. How are things in Italy? Tell me all about it.
Tired of this politics of death, the politics of cynicism, and want to make sure that our resources are coming back to our communities and investing in the life and the needs of the people here.
If you can talk about your experience, you're a Columbia alum. You were part of, you protested the encampments you were a part of, and you actually taught on the West Bank. Talk about your experience as a student there and how that influenced your positions on Palestine and Israel.
Yeah, I went to undergrad at Columbia University, and while I was a student there, I went to the West Bank, and it deeply formed a lot of my understanding of.
Honestly, no. Other than who's that one lady who was in the elections a while back? It was it was the granddaughter of Mussolini, Alessandra Mussolini. Did she end up winning? Is she in government right now? I don't really know. I wasn't paying attention.
Of global politics, but even my own context here in New York, where I started to see.
Giorgia Meloni, maybe that was it. Yeah. Giorgia Meloni. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Italian politicians, Prime Minister of Italy since October 2022. Hold the office, second longest government, blah, blah, blah. She has been president of the right-wing to far-right party Brothers of Italy. Ooh, scary sounding. Yeah, so she's in office, huh? She made it. The Youth Front. Neo-fascist political party in 1946 by followers of Italian fascism. Didn't Mussolini's body get? Oh, you have a delay. Oh, I don't know if I can fix that because I have the delay set to be as low as possible. I think. Maybe I can. Hold on. Let's see. I was gonna say like didn't yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't Mussolini's body get like, isn't it like publicly accessible? Can't you like go and see his body or at least his crypt? I think it's like, as far as I remember. I mean, not the whole thing because obviously it got. Oh, okay, it's normal. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what are political positions. Here we go. Smear campaign by her opponents. Hard right-wing populist and nationalist. Close to Viktor Orban. Not someone you want to be close with. Justice Party in Poland, Republican Party in the United States. Self-described her political party as a mainstream conservative party. I don't really think that's the... Well, at this point, yeah, I think mainstream conservative parties are all sort of aligned with fascism across the globe. It's kind of crazy. The fascist push in like the 2016 era was insane, but luckily it's kind of dialing back. I think we've seen like a... Your English crashed it. Oh, internet crashed it. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just kind of reading off the Wikipedia, that's all. Yeah. Calling it a zero-tolerance party for illegal immigrants. That's crazy, because isn't Italy's population declining like crazy? Aren't people moving out of Italy? Which, like, you know, it's obviously what all the fascists want, right? They want, you know, a white country or whatever, but yeah, here, look, the first article I click on, Italy's population stops shrinking after 12 years thanks to immigration. Resident population held steady about 59 million, net immigration at 296,000. Without immigrants, population would have shrunk by 297,000. Fertility rate down to 1.14 children per woman. Crazy. Wow. Stabilized after 12 years of decline, almost entirely offsetting a shrinking number of births. I mean, 2008, wow, that's crazy. 1 million young people every 5 years. That's crazy. Are they all just moving to the EU? I mean, I would suppose too. So, I mean, I guess Italy is in the EU, but you know what I mean. Oh my gosh, I do not want your car. Yeah, kind of crazy. I know that there's like sort of a little bit of like Americans moving there because, you know, America's so expensive now and people like romanticize Italy like it's this beautiful Italian villa that they'll be moving to. There's this one town in particular that sells houses really cheap. I have like a good amount of Italian. Some in America, but also they go to the rest of the world. Yeah, I kind of figured. I feel like nobody really wants to move to America anymore. Like it's still like a land of opportunity, you know, like you could get a good job here and everything, but it's sort of like a what was I going to say? It's sort of a problem with the politics and everything. I think we're very unpopular on the world stage right now. um Town in Italy that... Okay, yeah. So I this is kind of old news and it's kind of like not very important, but there was this one town that was selling houses super cheap for about $1.08. And I know that I it's not as simple as just you buy the house for $1.08 because obviously you need to get like citizenship and you know you get a visa figured out and all that. But I think Italy also has a pretty I mean maybe she dialed this back, maybe she was changing it, but like the so my it's good because probably North American gained like 3 times respect. I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what it's like in Italy right now. I don't know if people are viewing Italy that poorly, but I heard someone say it's the quote unquote, which I don't know if this is a good thing, but the Mexico of Europe, which I don't really know if that's something that people should be saying, but I did hear someone say that. It's kind of funny. I feel like Greece is the real Mexico of Europe, though. I feel like Greece's economy got so fucked in 2008 that, you know, um, yeah. So I was gonna say, like, so my great great grandfather Salvatore Romano, he came from Italy, and I would be able to get Italian citizenship based off of it, except for the fact that I'm actually his descendant through one woman. and you can only get citizenship through the maternal side, or no, the paternal side, your dad. And so if it were his son who had passed it on to me, I'd be able to get Italian citizenship. Maybe she changed that. Maybe that's not accurate. Oh my gosh, accurate anymore. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a progressive immigration policy or citizenship policy. It's not like China, where like China has like 28 naturalized citizens in their entire history. Yeah, yeah, drug trafficking is a huge problem there. It's mostly the U.S.'s fault. I think it's like a generalization, obviously. I don't think whoever said it was being that serious, but yeah. I also have another friend who said that what did they say? Oh, what was it? That the Philippines are like the Mexican, being Filipino is like being the Mexican of Asia, you know? So it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess people in America just like to rag on Mexico for some reason, but I mean, obviously, you know, look at our president. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I like Italy. I think Italy's cool. I'm not saying that. Someone else said that. Yeah. No, it's interesting. Um, and Giorgio Maloney. Yeah. Pretty interesting stuff. Already impossible for already citizen have a house and a job. What do you mean? Like, it's impossible for you to be a citizen and like find good work, or for are you saying if it's hard as an immigrant to get a house and a job, or a house and a job? I'm kind of I'm kind of not following. Okay. Well, yeah, when Trump got elected and everything, my parents automatically were like, "Oh, we should, you know, move to Europe or something," just because it's, you know, I think they were probably overreacting, and my dad certainly wouldn't have ever done that. But you know, the idea that we, gotcha, the idea that we would stay in the U.S. was sort of like being challenged just because we didn't want to, I don't know, deal with this crazy bullshit that we're getting put through. But luckily, we're sort of bouncing back right now with all of this, so that's good. But yeah, I haven't been to Italy. I've been to a couple places in Europe, but I'd love to go to Italy.
And understand that the systems that were oppressing Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, all over Palestine, were also informing our systems here that were having such a deep, harmful impact on so many Black and Latino and communities of color here. And you know, grow as an organizer, as a person, as you become more educated on these systems.
I'd love to visit Italy. I really want to go to China just because um there's kind of this like, in the US we pretend that things are all right when really no one can afford to live here. Like everyone is super broke, and you see like, you know, we have this like cultural memory of the 50s when there was like this economic boom and investment in like people's lives, and it became affordable, and like the government was actually like caring for its citizens, and we had unions and things like that. And China's going through that right now. And so I just kind of want to feel the cultural air in China and like look at how you know, this country just decades ago, like a century ago, was you know, like agricultural and sort of backwards. Um, it's not as bad as you think. They, especially with it, like people on visas, they'll watch you all the time. But China's not actually as bad as you think. There's a lot of propaganda around it, and yes, like their government is pretty controlling, obviously. But for the most part, like, you can live a totally happy and normal life. The only thing I wouldn't like about China, just visiting there, is that you have to be on like Chinese internet and you can't, like, you know, play video games with your friends in the States or whatever, you know? Like, that's something that really irks me. And there's actually a really interesting, complex reason for that. So, um, in countries that are not democratic, there is a there's a political science phenomena where if you open yourself up to trade and to like cultural communication with a democracy or a liberal government, you end up actually having movements that will challenge the status quo. So if you're China, right, if you're Xi Jinping and you want to control and keep your government from being democratic, you cannot have an internet that communicates with the liberal democracies, and that's why Iran does it too. Iran has a big history of all of um the social credit score thing isn't really actually real. That it's largely propaganda. Here, let's do some research into it, because I'd like to be more um informed on it. So what I've been told is that it's not as real as we think, is that it's largely propaganda. I mean, we do have credit scores in the US. I would assume there's credit scores in Italy and a bunch of other liberal democracies as well. But let's see. Yeah, so is a national credit rating and blacklist implemented by the government of the People's Republic of China. The social credit system is a broad governance strategy to track business, individuals, and government institutions and enhance their perceived trustworthiness rather than a single system. It is based on a varying degree of whitelisting, termed red listing in China, and blacklisting. There have been widespread misconceptions in media reports about unified social credit score based on individuals' behavior, leading to punishments if the score is too low in regards to or rewards if the score is too high. Let's see. Organization. Okay. Social credit is a broad policy category seeking to enforce legal obligations, including laws, regulations, and contracts. It views financial credit and legal compliance as a measure of trustworthiness. Social credit does not itself bring new restrictions. It focuses on increasing implementations of existing restrictions. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, here we go. There is no unified numerical credit score for businesses or individuals. Rather, national and local platforms use different evaluations or rating systems. Due to the differences in various pilot programs and fragmented system structure, information regarding scoring mechanisms is often conflicting. Inspired by FICO, a numerical credit score calculated by individual behavior and activities was given to citizens in certain pilot programs developed by financial firms or localized initiatives. However, these practices were not widespread applications, and eventually the numerical score mechanism was limited to private credit rating and loyalty programs. So essentially just a credit score at this point. I don't think I'm going to be able to respond by chat, but thank you for asking. I'm sorry. Okay, let me catch up on chat here. Yeah, so 700 cameras is 700 million cameras. I mean, like, I'm not trying to say China's a perfect place. I don't think it is. I think that I appreciate how much they're investing in public infrastructure. I appreciate how much they're investing in public infrastructure, and I appreciate how much they're like like um how strictly they ran in on business. But let's let's consider I go to work every day in the US and I'm on security cameras. When I go to the airport, they do facial scanning on me. When I go through TSA, they open up every container I have and they scan everything, right? When I get pulled over by the police, they will take my money if I have cash on me because I can't legally prove that I mean, it doesn't happen to me, but if I were black and I were living in Alabama, they would take my money because I couldn't legally prove that it was not drug money. It's called what's it called? Um it's something of property. I can't remember, but there's a legal term for it. Like there's a varying level of oppression that is like you can point fingers to it in China, but it's also here at home. And so for me, living in the US, right? I'm subject to a lot of the same shit that Chinese people are subject to, right? If I miss my rent or I miss my PG&E payments, my gas and electric payments, my credit score goes down and I can't get a loan. It's the same shit in China, right? If I go and I go to work or I go to the airport or I go, into any police station, any public building, any private building, I'm on camera. There's cameras in every building in the US. Yeah, it's true. It is well there's a give and take, right? So in France, right? You might know more about this cuz you're European, but uh there in France there was this like sort of oscillation, this back and forth of the government going from one position to the next in terms of being extremely decentralized and democratic to some more dictator-esque fashion, right? I mean, think of like Napoleon came back from his conquest to the Paris Commune, right? And then you had like there's essentially like really progressive democratic governments that were really slow in making changes and they were very divided and they weren't very effective at governance, but they were very representative of public opinion. And then you would switch to a dictator who was absolutely not representative of public opinion, but got a lot done and was very effective, right? And so eventually they found this middle ground, right? And I don't think China has found that middle ground, but I think that Xi Jinping is popular enough because he gives enough to the people in terms of like public infrastructure, healthcare, housing, farming directives, environmental directives, and things like that. He's popular enough that at the end of the day, it's good for now, right? Eventually, someone else might take up the mantle later on and be a total despot. I'm not saying their government is structured well. I think they have a leader who is willing to capitulate to the people enough, but I don't necessarily think that it's a good system. I think that they're an authoritarian government, etc. But I will say people in China are very happy right now, except for Uyghur people. Uyghur people need to, free the Uyghur people. But yeah, I don't know. It's I'd say it's a lot more complicated than we're led to believe. Well, they don't vote for him. You don't vote in China. What happens is you get so I think it's essentially you have like a board of politicians that vote for him. And at this point, once he was voted into office by those politicians, um, he was he enshrined his name in the Constitution. So now essentially he has power for life. Um, but as far as I'm aware, his popularity is pretty high in China. Yeah, obviously China, or obviously Japan doesn't like them. Europe doesn't like them. Turkey and Israel don't like them. Da, da, da. I'm trying to find internal polling data from China. Oh, there you go. China edges past the US in global polling. US leadership approval falls to 31% as China's climbs to 36%. I think you're probably thinking of Russia. Russia has fake elections, but China just doesn't even bother. They don't. I don't think China even has elections. Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't type. Okay, yeah. So oftentimes it's reported as 90% here, but in anonymous polling, support for the party hovers between 50 and 70%, which is still pretty high, right? But it's important to remember that it's the reason in regular polling and not the anonymous polling is at 90% is probably because of the cultural revolution that Mao had. There's probably like a historical memory of that where there was sort of this fervor that was spread amongst the Chinese people at the time, and anyone who was viewed as not being revolutionary enough, there's a lot of people who were dragged out in the street and beaten and killed. It was like sort of an insane like national riot against anyone who didn't support Mao, and it was really violent, and there was a lot of crazy stuff happening at the time. And so I think that, like, obviously for that reason, there's a memory of criticizing the government is really unpopular. And that's, I think, why anonymous polling comes out as a lot lower than the 90% in traditional surveys. 8% of citizens fear repression as a result for not protesting, while the list experiment survey revealed that about 40% acknowledge fear as a deterrent for protesting. So there you go. 40% of people there do not want to protest because of the fear of the government. Yeah, so the Han ethnic majority, which are like Han Chinese, are like I think what you would consider to be like the most dominant demographic. They have the most political power and economic power as well. They're about 20 percentage point higher than most minorities. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely still that fear. It is kind of popular, or not popular. It is kind of funny that in Western media, whenever China does something good, we always cover it as at what cost. So like here, China at what cost? I love this. It's really funny, and obviously these are just memes, but it is a real trend. Let's just read this off. Oh, hold on. Open image in new tab. There we go. Yeah. China's wind industrial policy succeeded, but at what cost? China pumps up Cambodian economy, but at what cost? China has avoided the grim US COVID toll, but at what cost? China is getting smarter, but at what cost? Wuhan, when you're on, the city that appears safe from COVID, but at what cost? China invests in Ethiopia, at what cost? China's economy looks to be stabilizing, but at what cost? Serbia has rolled out the red carpet to China, but at what cost? Right? All right, well, enjoy your dinner. I hope you will tune back in. I don't have many viewers, so come by another time. I promise I'm not always glazing China, I promise. I'm usually just covering domestic US and international politics, but yeah. I'll tune back into my democracy now.
You know, you start to notice that they're not just similar systems, they are the same system. They are systems that consistently put profit over people, that consistently
Yeah, exactly. Like I was just, this is really interesting. So I don't know if you know about this, but China has been trying to slow the growth of their desert. They have a huge desert, and so they've been planting a ton of trees. It's true. Yep, that's true. Yeah, exactly. It's never that simple. It's never that simple. But they've been planting all these trees, and what it actually did was it was counterproductive because the trees had to go so deep to get water that it lowered the water table, and wells were going dry in the villages surrounding it, which the hope was that those villages wouldn't get consumed by the desert. And so what they ended up doing was releasing a ton of horses into the desert, and the horses' hooves and they were like almost extinct horses too. So they were bringing back these horses that hadn't been there for like 100 years, and their hooves started, tearing up the terrain. And over the course of a year, it would bring out old seeds, and it would allow the groundwater to soak into the ground, or the rainwater to soak into the ground better. And so you started seeing very slowly, year after year, certain areas were starting to go green again. And then you'd get insects coming back and birds to eat the insects. And then, I don't know, just a million different things. It was really interesting. And so they kind of like found this very easy method where each horse was providing over like $1 million a year in what would have to be done by humans. Like if it were human labor, it would have cost $1 million a year per horse, right? And so it's like kind of crazy that these horses were better than all the government could do. It's kind of crazy, but it goes to show you. And in the US now they're trying to do it with bison. We're trying to bring the bison back to the plains. It's pretty interesting. So they do have some pretty innovative, new, cool things they're doing. Let's see if I can actually find the video on those horses.
It's been many years since wild horses roamed the grassy plains of West China. This is a land of extremes, where a herd's survival can only be assured by a strong and worthy leader.
Okay, this seems like a nature documentary. That's not exactly what I was looking for. Oh, here we go. There's a 2-minute video from Al
These
Jazeera.
horses are the first of their kind to gallop the vast steppes of Kazakhstan in nearly 2 centuries. Bred at the Prague Zoo, these 3 traveled more than 4,000 kilometers by plane to their ancestral home.
We managed to get those horses here alive and healthy all the way to this reintroduction center. Of course, more will follow. These first 3 are just the first step.
The Przewalski's horse is genetically different and the only true wild horse subspecies. Its lineage split thousands of years ago, before horses were domesticated. It's smaller and stockier than a regular horse, with noticeably shorter legs. On average, it weighs much less too, and its unique genetics mean Przewalski's horse can only breed among its kind.
All right, have
This,
fun at
plus
dinner.
hunting and climate
Thanks for
change
tuning in. I
caused the
appreciate it.
Przhevalsky to die out in the
I'll be
wild
streaming tomorrow.
in the
Please come.
mid-20th century. Their numbers were dwindling in captivity as well. By the end of the 1950s, only 12 of these horses were alive in zoos across the planet. In 1957, the last Przhevalsky caught in the wild saved its kind by providing vital genetic diversity. 8 years later, there were more than 100. Now, nearly 1,000 have been released to roam Central Asia, and they're helping preserve its ecosystem.
The wild horses serve another important role, especially for the steppe, to prevent, to distribute non-native or not common plants in the steppe, and also prevent the fire.
These three Przhevalskys will now begin repopulating Kazakhstan's wilds after being on the brink of extinction. Dmitry Medvedenko, Al Jazeera.
It's really interesting.
Deny people their human dignity for the sake of capital. And to know that we sent a very loud and clear message yesterday that we will not allow that to continue to be the case, that we will put people first and we will put working people at the heart of our democracy, it felt really full circle. To know that we can say Free Palestine at our party, to know that we can say what is happening in Gaza is a genocide and win, and reject the politics of AIPAC, reject the politics of big money and corporations coming into our politics. It is truly, I think, a seismic shift that is happening in our politics.
Attendees at your victory party last night included the Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate student organizer who was detained 4 months last year in an ICE jail in Louisiana.
No, today's win is a big win for New York, is a big win for the working class community in this country. To have someone like Daria Lisa actually representing them in DC, representing the struggles, the daily struggles that this community goes through, rather than politicians who are only cashing money for the sake of gaining power and control. I've known Daria Lisa since my first days at Columbia, and she's been always very supportive, even in my absence when I was in detention. She was there for me, she was there for my family, she was there for my community, going in the streets and just like supporting in whatever capacity she has. So now I have no doubt that she will continue to do the same in DC.
Can you talk about your organizing around Mahmoud Khalil's detention, being held for months, and what he symbolized to you, Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier?
You know, Mahmoud is a friend, but I would have fought for him even if he weren't, because I have been fighting for immigration justice my entire adult life. It is something that is deeply important to me. And when I first got the news of his detention, you know, there was the initial shock of it all, but there was a moment also where my organizer brain just kicked in and I just kind of went into awe.
Mahmoud Khalil's detention honestly backfired so hard on the Trump administration. They got hit with so much legal trouble from it. And then on top of that, they platformed him. I mean, look at him now. He's attending congressional races. He's, he's bigger than ever, and he's got a loud voice now. Maybe not loud, but he's got a substantial voice. He's got substantial support, and he's pretty popular. So I think it's kind of a blunder that the Trump administration will not learn from. They'd rather crush dissent, but still.
Pilot where I just started writing to make sure that we were spreading the word about his case and taking control of the narrative as someone who knew him in that time, and making sure that we were really putting together movement work that could bring attention to his case. And I was already organizing with fellow organizers around civil disobediences, around direct actions, to bring more attention to his case, about court support, to make sure that we were showing that he has a community. And when the Trump administration said that he would be the blueprint of how immigration enforcement would be conducted going forward, I thought it would be very clear to all our representatives the stakes in his case. Not just as an individual, not just on the fact that it was basically punishment for his engagement in free speech around the genocide that was happening towards his people, but also because of the impact that it would have on every immigrant in this country, on the First Amendment rights of every person on US soil. And to know that our representative, the one that was representing him in that moment, that all he could offer were two sentences around trusting Trump's DOJ at a time where Trump's DOJ had just violated rule of law by detaining him in the first place was deeply troubling. And so, you know, when I was first considering whether or not this was a race I wanted to throw my hat in, I just kept thinking about Mahmoud and the millions of people like him and Noor who are so fearful right now, and what it would have meant to them to have a representative who was actually fighting for them.
Finally, Daria-Lisa Villa-Chevalier, your plans for Congress, when what looks like overwhelmingly, given your district, you will be elected in November.
I'm so excited to fight for the working people of this district to make sure that we can all afford to stay in this.
Very, very good stuff. I kind of want to watch her victory speech. Here, let's see. And
I'm so excited to get to work and to bring all of you with me to Washington. To be fighting the fight that we have been fighting at the federal level. Because over a year ago now, the odds were stacked against another young Muslim socialist. To become mayor of New York City. And so I'll tell you honestly, I'm not concerned about that.
It's about time that we have new and fresh faces in Congress that are really going to.
Let's see. Ooh.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to say that it's been a long stand.
Okay, here we go. Here's the full version.
For this district. In my district, we know a little bit about what it feels like to be left behind. Because for too long, in Washington Heights, in Harlem, in Kingsbridge, people have counted us out, forgotten about us, told us we couldn't make it. Every single one of us has a story about being let down by our government, about our representatives, soon to be our former representative, who wouldn't pick up the phone, doing nothing about the affordability crisis and looking the other way while the real estate corporations that funded his campaign raised our rents and priced us out of the community that we love. But that ends today. Because we have been told that cynicism was the best that we could get. That to dream of a better life for ourselves and for our neighbors, for systems that were rooted in our communities in joy and in life, instead of despair and destruction, was naive. That a politics of life and of hope was out of reach for us here. As if the cutoff for ambition for a better life ended at 96th Street. But today we make it clear. The politics of the past ends today. What we have And what we have delivered here today is a clear mandate that the era of taking a check and cashing a check and calling it representation is over. No longer will Uptown and the Bronx be neglected, forgotten, or overlooked. No longer will we accept a politics that throws scraps at us and acts as if we should be grateful for them. Will we accept anything less than respect and a seat at the table that our labor built. Over the past 8 months, all of you in this room know how much the Democratic machine has tried to count us out. How at every turn they've underestimated us. Those of you in this room know just how scared we made APAC, crypto, and all of the corporate PACs funding my opponent's campaign. And over the last few weeks, we've seen the lengths they will go to protect their power. Because the corporate landlords and lobbies who powered our opponent's campaign did so because they know that he didn't represent us in this district. He didn't fight for us. He represented them, and he fought for them. And when they saw how our movement was gaining momentum, they realized that they were in trouble. They knew that they couldn't out-organize us, so they had to outspend us, pumping more than $7 million into our community and flooding our TVs and airwaves and phones. After attack ad. That's a lot of money. And online?
That's a lot of money.
And online? After attack ad. That's a lot of money. And online? That is a lot of money. That could have gone into our community. And online and in WhatsApp chats, we saw just how low they were willing to go. Just because they knew that they couldn't beat us if they fought fair. So they attacked me. Why? Because I am a proud Afro-Latina Dominican. Because I believe in the freedom and dignity of all people, including our Haitian neighbors. My opponent and his supporters spread vicious lies about me and my family everywhere they could. I have been called racial slurs, had my personhood attacked, had my DMs flooded with monkey and rat emojis. I have received death threats after death threat after death threat, and I have been asked to share my birth certificate and those of my parents. And I say that all to say that this type of hate cannot be allowed to stand. That it has no place in our politics ever. And that tonight our community showed that it will not stand for it. And in the words of Shirley Chisholm, even if the establishment machine has done everything in its power to keep our community from having a seat at the table, well, I have some bad news for them. We brought folding chairs. Because like I've said many times, this campaign was never about me. It is about all of us. It is about every young person who has ever been counted out, discredited, made to feel less than. To every little black and brown girl, Mujeres Dominicanas, my Muslim sisters, and every working class person here. Our time has come. And I am so honored to have built a movement with all of you. And to have the support of not only all of you in this room, but all of our community. A community that deserves full investment and full funding in our childcare, in our schools, in our healthcare systems, in our babies, not bombs. And we have to use every tool in the toolbox to make sure that we abolish ICE and keep our immigrant neighbors safe. And we must secure housing for all.
Holy shit, we're only halfway through. Okay, I don't want to watch the whole damn thing.
Truly affordable housing for all.
Oh my gosh, well, she is certainly stoked on her, she's certainly stoked on her, what's it called, victory there. Ugh. All right, let's see Claire Valdez.
Good evening, Brooklyn and Queens.
10 minutes, that's a lot easier to...
When we fight, yeah, baby. And tonight, my friends, we have won. My name is Claire Valdez, and I am proud to say that I will be your next Congress member. I just spoke with Borough President Reynoso, who graciously conceded the space, and I want to thank him. I want to thank him for running a campaign rooted in his deep love and devotion to this district and to all those who call it home. And I look forward to working with him in the near future and continuing the work that he has done. And I want to thank Congresswoman Velasquez, whose service to the city and commitment to Puerto Rico stretches decades. So few Americans have had the privilege that we have had for so long to vote for a member of Congress who they sincerely are proud of to have representing them and who serves them selflessly. So thank you to Congresswoman Velasquez. And I want to thank our mayor. Zoran has given hope to so many people across the city that politics can be about things that really matter in our lives. And you have believed and you believed in me every step of this way. I'm so proud to be in this movement with our mayor of New York City. Tonight, we haven't just won an election, we have declared that this movement is durable. That it is growing, and that it will not stop until working people are no longer asked to just build the table, no longer just offered a seat at the table, but will run the table. And make no mistake, this victory is not mine, it is ours. It belongs to the UAW, it belongs to... and it belongs to New York City DSA. It belongs to the entire coalition that believed in this campaign and built this movement. And when I look out into this crowd, I see the faces of those who willed hard work into victory. I'm talking about UAW members. Who stood on picket lines when the sun beat down and the cold made your toes go numb, and still you marched. I'm talking about DSA members who showed up to meetings late on Friday nights, who imagined a better future even when there were only 10 people in the room. Still, we organized. And I'm talking about neighbors who spoke to neighbors on stoops and street corners, children who asked parents to vote for their futures, New Yorkers from Greenpoint and Sunnyside and Ridgewood and Bushwick and Woodhaven who came together to fight for dignity and power. Together we won. So often in this campaign, there was a rallying cry, one that has echoed from canvas launches and moving vehicles, and that you chanted just moments ago. It was coined by Tony Rosario of the Teamsters, yes. Yeah. That's the one. That's the one I was talking about. I have to admit, at first I did not like it. You shouted it all the time. Just now again. And I didn't like it because none of this was ever about me. This race has always been about the New Yorkers who are there before the sun rises and after it sets. For whom there means...
All right, I kind of want to watch this DOJ announcing fraud investigation. Holy, that is loud. Oh God, here he comes, the voice. We are investigating fraud.
Good morning, everybody. Today we are here to announce the results of the 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown. This announcement marks the greatest combined federal and state effort in combating healthcare fraud in history. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump and the Vice President, and all those folks standing behind me and next to me, we are more united than ever before. This team is working tirelessly to take down fraudsters who steal from taxpayer-funded programs and prey on vulnerable Americans. When we talk about the team that's working on these cases, I want to give some context around that. There are 9 healthcare fraud strike forces that have been part of this effort. 57 U.S. attorneys' offices, 41 state attorney general's offices, not red states, not blue states, but both working together with the federal government. Multiple law enforcement agencies, including inspector generals, some of the agencies that are here with me on this stage. That's what we talk about when we say this is an all-government approach to combating fraud. It's not just the Department of Justice, it's not just HHS, it's all government, including working with our state and local partners. Today we are announcing federal and state charges, all of which were charged or unsealed at some point over the past 2 weeks, the past 14 days, coordinated nationwide action. Since June 8th, we've charged 455 defendants across 56, like I said a minute ago, U.S. attorneys' offices, and 45 U.S. states and territories. As alleged in the various indictments, these individuals participated in healthcare fraud schemes involving over $6.5 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs. The team around me will get into more specifics, but here are a few points that stand out. In one indictment, we're bringing charges against a corporate executive in Arizona in connection to over a $1 billion fraud involving unnecessary wound grafts. This alleged scheme costs Medicare over $1 million per patient. In total.
All right, let's get some actual numbers here. U.S. Sentencing Commission, healthcare fraud. Of the 66,662 cases reported to the Commission in the fiscal year 2025. 340 involved healthcare fraud. That is a low fucking number. Healthcare fraud offenses have increased 1% since fiscal year 2021. And you have a grand total of 340 people committing healthcare fraud in 2025. 69% of individuals sentenced for healthcare fraud were men, 45% were white, 15% were Hispanic, 21% were black, and 9% were other races. Their average age was 52 years, when 91% were U.S. citizens, 91% had a little or no prior criminal history, 69% received the adjustment at USSG. No idea what that means. The median loss for these offenses was $1,279,436. 24% involved loss amounts less than $250,000, and 13% involved loss amounts greater than $9,500,000. The number of victims or the extent of harm to victims was 13%. I honestly wonder how does healthcare fraud really, and I mean, how is this like the greatest priority out of our healthcare system? Our healthcare system is entirely broken and we're cracking down on fraud. Like 1% of our cases are fraud, you know? Like, hold on, what is, let me actually do some math here.
Total, our indictment charges 11 defendants for over $2 billion in fraudulent claims in connection to alleged wound care schemes. The indictment also alleges that these individuals then used the taxpayer money to bankroll multi-million-dollar homes, luxury vehicles like a $135,000 Maserati, jewelry like an $865,000 Bulgari necklace, and to top it all off, to fund the construction of a $4.6 million hotel at a beach resort in the Philippines. We're taking back the money, the luxury cars, the jewelry, and these alleged fraudsters will face justice. The coordinated actions of the past 2 weeks have resulted in over $182 million in cash and other assets seized, making clear our healthcare fraud enforcement efforts generate a significant return on investment for our taxpayers. In terms of Medicaid fraud, we're able to announce today the creation of the West Coast Strike Force and the deployment of additional prosecutors, allowing us to bring charges against a record-setting 295 defendants. Our indictments allege over $518 million in Medicaid fraud between these individual defendants. You're going to hear from Director Patel in a moment, but apprehending alleged fraudsters remains a top priority of the Department of Justice and the FBI and our other law enforcement partners, including the DEA, who's here as well. At last year's takedown, a year ago, we charged multiple individuals for allegedly running a $10.6 billion medical equipment scheme using stolen identities to make false Medicare claims. Today, I can announce that
I just don't understand how this is our greatest priority with our healthcare system. I mean, like, it's ridiculous, the system we live in. It is ridiculous. I mean, hold on, let me pull up the stats on how much money would be saved by universal healthcare. All right. Medicare for all would save the U.S. trillions. Public option would leave millions uninsured, not garner savings. Medicare for all opponents repeatedly claim that it is too expensive by presenting misleading numbers without proper context or unsustainable healthcare spending. Our healthcare spending is estimated to continue rising and will reach nearly $6 trillion a year by 2027. That means, according to the federal government, we will spend around $42.9 trillion on healthcare over the next decade if we maintain the status quo. A recent study by Yale epidemiologists found that Medicare for all would save around 68,000 lives a year, while reducing U.S. healthcare costs by spending around 13% or $450 billion a year. Think about that. All of these people complaining about population and decline and fucking birth rates, and yet they're not willing to pay to make fucking birth easy. You know how much a fucking having a kid costs? Hold on. Average bill for child for baby delivery, USA. Let's see. Google AI says it costs about $20,416 with insurance, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Why are we charging $20,000 to have a fucking baby? It's insane. And they're complaining about birth rates. Like, what the fuck are we doing, people? What the fuck are we doing? Oh my God. Nearly $6 trillion a year could be saved by 2027. That means, according to the federal government, we'll spend around $42.9 trillion. Oh, I already read that. 68,000 lives a year while reducing healthcare spending by about 13%. Hold on, let me zoom in a little here for the people in the back. A recent study by Yale, we already read that. Medicare for all spending would be approximately $37.8 trillion between 2017 and 2026, according to a study by the Political Economy Research Institute, Perry at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. That amount leads to about $5 trillion in savings over that time. These savings would come from reducing administrative costs and allowing the government to negotiate prescription drug prices. Other studies by think tanks and government agencies have analyzed single-payer proposals at the state level and federal levels. Most Medicare for All funds, most found Medicare for All would reduce our total healthcare spending. Even a study by the Koch-funded Mercatus Center, holy shit, found that Medicare for All would save around $2 trillion over a 10-year period. And that's the Koch Foundation. Holy shit. That's insane. Oops, it just downloaded the study. Okay, whatever. Some additional taxes would be needed to pay for Medicare for All, but most Americans would spend less on healthcare than they do right now. Overall, working families that make around $60,000 a year would pay up to 14% less on their annual healthcare costs. As the debate grows, blah, 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 healthcare overhaul, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It would provide guaranteed healthcare for everyone, provide access to home and community-based care for everyone who needs it, guarantee coverage for dental, vision, and hearing, end medical debt and medical bankruptcies, reduce administrative waste by $500 billion a year, end price gouging by pharmaceutical companies, and put an end to corporate profiteering off of the sick. You know, Chris Hedges has an excellent quote on this. Let me pull this up. Chris Hedges, speak to me again, please. Might take me a second to find it, but I gotta find it. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. It's kind of an old interview. God, I really want to find it. Well, I don't think this is it, but this might be.
Part of the job of the insurance companies to make
Oh, this isn't even Chris Hedges. What the fuck? I thought I saw him. It was a different bald guy. Actually, it might actually be better if I Google it. Okay, I think this is it. I think I found it. Somewhere in here.
And joining us now in studio.
Corporations were able to walk in, and we begin with Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and westward expansion and the railroad companies, and focus on Pine Ridge, which is one of the poorest pockets of the United States, as are all the pockets we talk about. The average life expectancy in Pine Ridge is 48 for a male. It's the lowest reservation for Native Americans.
That's not it. It's not it. It's not it. It's not it. God damn. God damn, how hard is it to find a fucking catchy interview? Jesus. Well, essentially the quote goes like this. He says, we live in a country where healthcare companies find it legally permissible to hold sick children hostage while their parents go frantically bankrupt, trying to bury themselves in debt to save their children. So, anyways, back to our stupid fucking fraud investigation.
Earlier this month, we apprehended 2 of those defendants extradited from Estonia. Separately, over the weekend, we conducted the foreign transfer to custody of a defendant who is allegedly connected to another $3.7 billion in intended loss. I want to thank our tireless federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies who work hard every day and participated in these whole-of-government operations. This is just the beginning. Fraudsters can no longer rip off American taxpayers. If you seek to harm or cheat Americans, we will find you, seize any assets, and prosecute you.
This is an illegal settler within the Palestinian territories. Now maybe you'll see him with the normal uniform, but in the night he wear the soldier uniform, and he come back and start searching houses and interrogating people.
He is one among hundreds of thousands of people who've migrated from either Israel or abroad to assist in the active colonization of Palestine's West Bank, which begins less than 20 miles east of the Gaza Strip. He lives in a makeshift compound or an outpost settlement above a Palestinian village with a group of mostly teenagers who spend their free time attacking, terrorizing, sometimes killing and burning the homes of Palestinians at all hours of the night and day for reasons of their own.
I don't give a shit.
So a settler is a person who decided to move to Palestine from the United States or any other part of the world because they are privileged that they have a Jewish roots in their families.
Isn't it technically in violation of the 1967 agreement for these settlements to exist?
Yes, exactly. And today when you hear in the news about what they call it the two-state solution, it's just a bullshit.
We must chart a course for a two-state solution.
There can be a better future.
France is pushing a three-pronged plan to make statehood a reality.
يعني قد ما حكينا وبنطلب في هالعالم انها يعني تساعدنا، ما حدا مساعدنا على انه بس يردعوا عنا. اليوم الصبحيات دعسوا من الدواجن بطة، وقبل فترة دعسوا كلاب وغنم، وكانوا يجيبوا لنا فطايس من عندهم يفطسن ويرموا لنا اياها من باب الدور.
Palestinian communities, brutal assaults caught on camera.
Oh, come on, don't
hit her! Drawing international criticism.
Whenever you see videos of settlers attacking villages around here, where are these settlers coming from? Are they coming from nearby colonies, different countries, from inside the state of Israel itself?
You know, most of these settlers are actually coming from abroad.
Our pre-production advisor, who has extensive experience filming settlers, told us that while quite dangerous, we'd be safe around them as long as we kept the cameras rolling.
Your camera will have an almost prophylactic effect, to some extent a cone of safety, because the settlers and the IDF who are protecting them don't want to be filmed.
At this exact moment, he is thought to be brandishing a firearm, likely a handgun provided by the Israeli army at the direction of the country's Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, an outspoken religious supremacist who believes in the total annexation of historic Judea, as it was once called within the Kingdom of Israel over 2,700 years ago.
Welcome to Israel.
Oh,
We
I
are the
hate
landlords.
looking at them.
They came with much pride, as big heroes. Look at how they look now. Not heroes and not anything. Terror supporters.
Itamar Ben-Gvir taunts activists who'd been detained from a Gaza aid flotilla.
Well, what happened was post-October 7th, Ben-Gvir authorized the release of larger numbers of high-caliber firearms, so virtually all the adults in the West Bank would have qualified for a kind of machine gun. So they were just awash with these guns, and you know, thinly supervised at best.
طبعا هذا العمل العادي يعني احنا هذا بنهتمش فيه كثير جدا هذا لانه روتين عادي.
The villagers say they're doing their best to ignore the kid because taking the bait in any way could be a fatal mistake. The settler, they say, is on an intimidation run, hoping to provoke a reaction of some kind, after which he'll call in the army and have people arrested.
In a few minutes, maybe he will go there and he will call the army, the IOF.
Yeah.
And he will tell them, he will just lie, like people are attacking me and there is also visitors also try to attacking me, so to make it more complicated for the people here.
هو الحين حزمق وزعل عشان احنا ما سوينا اشي.
مو قتلوا كل شيء، اي اشي بيشوفوه بيعتقلوه، وحشية ولا زيها في العالم، اي اشي بيلقوه بياخذوه.
Villagers say that the Israeli soldiers who arrive shortly after to make baseless arrests are typically just outpost settlers themselves in different outfits, which may seem a bit strange unless you get what this whole routine is about. It's about clearing the area by any means necessary. And as for the settlers, they've been given a broader license to kill than Klansmen who enacted racial terror in the American South after the Civil War, with 95% of police investigations immediately dismissed and not a single jail sentence ever handed down to an Israeli settler involved in the murder of a Palestinian.
He can do whatever he wants. He can raid this motorbike or whatever. He can have sheep. He can build wherever he wants. He can do whatever he wants.
And all of this, and I mean all of this, is funded by U.S. tax dollars.
I think it's allowed us to do enormous things.
That really is a great honor.
But on a brighter note, welcome to our Palestine series. You're watching Channel 5. These episodes were arranged in collaboration with the Lajee Center in Bethlehem.
This is Lajee Center. Lajee is Arabic word. is mean refugee. We run different projects here. The circus school, which is at the moment there is a training for the circus school. Also here we have also boxing classes, training, it happened here.
The boxing gym, called Aklai, is ran by both Palestinian and Irish volunteers.
Akli is helped by a friend from Ireland, Allah, which is he's supposed to be with us, but he was banned for 5 years. In the last time he tried to enter Palestine.
So Anla from Ireland, just mentioned, is the biological brother of Kneecap frontman Magali Bop and was our initial hired fixer for this journey.
Just out for a bit of a walk on the nature walk, just across the road from Ackley.
But crossing over into Palestine from Jordan was no easy task, and one that took over 8 hours despite covering less than 2 miles of distance. Through a grueling customs process that involves 3 checkpoints, 2 buses, 3 bag checks, and a final individual interrogation by a border agent from Israel, where you're essentially given a vibe check, asked a couple questions, and if they don't like your answers, you're banned from both Palestine and Israel for 5 years. During my interrogation, I told him that I was headed to party in Tel Aviv because of the repressive atmosphere of anti-Semitism in the US dating market. He bought the story and let me in. But Anla from Ireland decided to keep it real and not lie. He was slapped with a 5-year ban and sent back to Belfast, leaving us in the trusted hands of our driver and tour guide, Musa, who was born and raised in Palestine's Aida refugee camp.
Hello, welcome to Aida refugee camp. Today is about 5,000 people live in this camp. Half of this number are young people and children. Aida refugee camp is the same story of all the Palestinian refugees camp. Was established in 1950 after the catastrophe in 1948.
Aida was initially established by the United Nations shortly after the Nakba, or the catastrophe of 1948, which the Israelis called the War of Independence.
The Jewish state will include the ports of Haifa and Tel Aviv.
It began when 5 Arab nations launched attacks on Jewish cities and settlements within Palestine, most of which had been under colonial British rule through the Balfour Declaration, until it expired on the midnight of May 14th, 1948.
Britain's civic administration is expected to withdraw by May.
The State of Israel, or the Jewish state, was declared the very next morning along the lines of a partition plan approved by the UN a year prior.
The plan was accepted by 33 votes to 13.
This sparked outrage within the Arab world, jump-starting an inevitable conflict and causing Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and their Palestinian counterparts to invade, but they were not successful. Israel ultimately won the war, and as a means of collective punishment, they created the Nakba, the catastrophe, forcing 750,000 Palestinians from their homes and onto places like the West Bank and Gaza Strip.
Here, 27 names of the villages, which is the families who live in Aida camp they came originally from. For lots of families, they're still keeping the key, and even though they know all their houses destroyed in 1948, but it still gives them a hope that one day they will back again to their homes.
Do you know which village in particular on the occupation side your family first came from?
Yeah. Beit Jibrin.
Beit Jibrin was just one of around 400 villages depopulated during the Nakba. Today, it is a totally renamed kibbutz.
Welcome to Beit Jibrin,
which is the Israeli version of a socialist commune, completely inaccessible to any Palestinian.
I always heard about it from my grandparents. In my childhood, they used to tell us lots of stories about how was life, how many lands they owned there. That's a graffiti tell the history of the Palestinians, how they were living before 1948, before the catastrophe, as a farmers. And then when the catastrophe happened, they moved them to the refugees camp and they built the apartheid wall surrounding the camp.
The massive wall surrounding the camp was built in 2004 in the midst of a bloody conflict called the Second Intifada. The conflict took upwards of 5,000 lives. The Israelis say the Palestinians started it by targeting police and protests that turned violent, whereas the Palestinians generally place blame on the collapse of peace talks at the Camp David summit in 2000, as well as a provocative visit by Israeli politician Ariel Sharon to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, the third holiest site in Islam, which happens to also be built on a plot of land called the Temple Mount, which is the #1 holiest site in the Jewish faith. Total nightmare.
After they finished the wall, they built more than 7 military watchtowers. In this road here, we have lost 3 children from these watchtowers. Muhammad, he was in his home here in this building. 10th of November 23, he was killed from the watchtower in front of us by a sniper. He shot him a live bullet in his chest. He did nothing. He was bleeding for 10 minutes. Then the father decided to take him inside the car and take him to the hospital. When he drove down, another group of soldiers stopped the car. They took the body outside of the car and they arrested the father. They didn't give any first aid even to his child. After that, they took him to the military base. The Israeli commander called his father and he told him, come pick your son. And he doesn't know what's his situation. When they give him his son, even they didn't come with the ambulance, they came with a normal truck. And he was in a plastic bag and they throw him in the ground and the soldier left. It's not more than training for their soldiers.
Places like Ida were never supposed to be permanent. According to UN Resolution 194, which was signed by Israel, Nakba refugees would eventually be given safe passage back to their villages, and those who chose not to return would be given compensation in the form of a reparations package.
But that resolution, just in paper, nothing changed. After more than 77 years under this colonization, we're still looking forward to go back to our home villages.
I tell Musa that we'd like to see some of the illegal settlements that people have been talking about.
22 new illegal settlements on Palestinian land in the occupied West Bank.
My only exposure to their existence thus far had been through Louis Theroux's recent documentary, Settlers, where he was able to gain rare access behind the curtain of these ultra-nationalist enclaves, which he claims contain people even more extreme than those he interviewed in South Africa after apartheid.
I'm so uncomfortable using the word Palestinian because I don't think that it exists.
Just the lethality of it and the extent to which the objective of the settlers is to for many of them, it's to drive the Palestinians out. Like under apartheid, the white South Africans, they didn't tend to say like, we want to drive the Africans, the black Africans out.
You can have Johannesburg. Is that Johannesburg?
Yeah.
Okay, I give it to you tonight.
Okay. They wanted to subject them to a punitive and degrading legal regime, but they weren't routinely, as I understand it, every day. I mean, I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to appear to minimizing any aspect of apartheid. But what I saw in the West Bank was a life that was day-to-day unlivable, where you couldn't really, endless check, hours to get anywhere if you could get anywhere. A sense in which you were just a stranger in your own land.
How much time you gonna stay in Israel?
Hang on, but I don't think we're in Israel. Are we in Israel?
You're in Israel now.
Are we?
Yes.
In the West Bank? No?
Hey, what's up, you guys? In today's episode, we covered the situation on the ground in the West Bank. But right now, I want to turn the attention over to Gaza to see how the mainstream media is covering things over there. So to find out, I'm going to pull up ground news right here on my phone, which is a